Good morning, Texoma, and thanks for joining us. This morning we are talking about Inheritance Adoptions. It's an organization right here in Texoma that's helping to match birth moms with adoptive parents. And joining us now for the very latest and actually some surprising information about adoptions and how it's really transformed over the years is Leslie Howard. She is the executive director. So thank you so much for being here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And I just kind of want to jump right into this morning. And times basically have changed, and the way it's done is now through an open adoption. Can you tell us what that means?
Yes, just the history of adoption from years ago was the birth mother would choose to place her child, and usually from the hospital, the child would be taken there and go straight to the couple, and then the birth mom did not know anything after that. And years of that and research has shown how hard that was for a birth mother, because it is such a loss in their life. And at that point in time in the closed adoption, there wasn't any chance to really grieve that loss. And so they just kind of kept that, and it just showed how unhealthy that was for someone. It was like a death, basically. Yeah. About probably over 20 years ago, it started in California. They started doing open adoptions, and throughout the years, it's moved across the country. And now in Texas, that's primarily what we choose to do, is open adoptions. And the research has shown that it's good for all the parties. For the adoptive parents, you don't have the worry of where is the birth mom. You know, is she around the corner? Is she sure. Stalking us or watching? And so they don't have that. Also, they don't have to worry about trying to come up with answers to questions that they might not could answer when the child gets old enough to start asking questions of why they were placed for adoption. This way, the birth mom is already in the life of the child and can answer those questions directly. So the couple doesn't have to try to come up with those answers themselves.
Not put off on them.
Right. And for the birth parent, obviously, it's better because of the healing process. And they get to know that the child's healthy, doing well, excelling, having all the opportunities that a child deserves from the very beginning of life. And it makes the birth mother feel good about her decision and about the selfless decision that she made to give the child more, and not that she did not give the child away, sure. As so many people, might look at it, adoptions as giving my child away. Well, it's not. It's a very conscious decision, a very thought-out decision on the birth parent's part, and a very hard and selfless decision. Yeah. Really, it's more selfish sometimes to keep the child instead of allowing, someone that can give the child better opportunities. And then third, for the child, open adoption is the best, because they don't have those dreams of, why was I placed? Was there something wrong with me? Those things that your mind can take you to negative places that shouldn't go to. This way, they know from the very beginning their birth mother, carried them to term. The adoptive parents opened their home. And for a child, if they know that is how their life is, then there's really no big deal of it. The adults are the ones that make a bigger deal of things. But if a child is raised from the very beginning of knowing this is their life story, then it's really not a big deal.
That's a good point. How many birth mothers would you say your agency or your organization works with in a year?
We work with about 30 birth mothers, and only about around 10 to 12 choose to actually place their children for adoption. So we work with pregnant women who, choose to parent. But when they do choose adoption, then we continue a relationship beyond the adoption, and we try to help birth moms get in a better place in their life. We've offered GED testing and CNA classes and transporting to job interviews and classes and things like that. We try to help the girls get in a better situation so that the next time they find themselves pregnant, they might be in a better place in their life.
So maybe they can raise that child
right.
on their own. you hear that number and it seems pretty low, actually. Do you find, though, it's gone up at all since the open adoption has happened? I mean, was the number even lower?
Well, we started 20 years ago. We did just have our 20th celebration last night. And so, of course, the numbers have gone up throughout the years. I can't say if it's due to openness, but I believe that it probably is. I mean, we work with a lot of girls that say they could not have done adoption without it being open. We still do have a few girls that choose closed. We're not going to force a birth mom to be in an open relationship if she doesn't feel like she can, but we will counsel her towards that goal. And most of the girls, especially after the baby's been born, they come around to at least wanting some pictures.
We're going to actually hear from a birth mother and also an adoptive mother coming up. I really just want to point out, though, a lot of the birth mothers that you work with, I understand, are from the Texoma area, correct?
Yes, they are.
And the families, though, they can be from pretty much all over the state.
Yes, and we can work with birth moms from all over the state. They just typically don't hear about us.
Anything you can kind of tell us about the families we're about to meet and the birth mom that we're about to meet as well?
Well, Alyssa and Kimberly, they have a very special relationship. They've been open since before Annabella was born. Annabella's 18 months now, and the relationship has really grown throughout the 18 months. And we just want to show an example of really what open relationship can look like. It's based on trust, just like anything else or any other relationship in our lives, and it's going to get stronger as the years go by. And I think we're finding that with them. Both of them are very giving in the relationship, and so it's really worked beautifully.
Well, I know we're definitely interested to meet them and excited to meet them, so we don't want you to go anywhere. One last question, though. You said 20 years, and that's very exciting, so a big congratulations on that. I know last night a lot of people came out for the big event, and it was held at the Impact last night. And of course, just keep an eye out, your ear open, you know, if there's other events going on to help support inheritance adoptions right here in Texoma.
Yes.
How long have you been with inheritance adoptions?
I've been with the agency for 16 years.
16 years, so quite a while.
Yes.
Has there been a family that maybe from the very beginning now you've watched where that child has become a teen, and what are the benefits you're seeing all the way into the teenage years firsthand, that you're seeing firsthand?
Oh gosh, we have so many good relationships, or so many good examples. We do, I mean, one that comes to mind real quickly is the child is 13 now, and they spend holidays together. She's very close with their birth mother, and she comes and stays. They live in Dallas, but she goes and stays with them, or they come here. They actually came in last night, and the birth mom and all the couple, they all came to our event last night together. So we have lots of examples of that, though, just that relationship, just like an extended family. We say, you know, a child can't be loved by too many people.
That's true.
And a child is very fortunate, you know, to have that many people in their life. A child is fortunate to have an adoptive mother and a biological mother. Mm-hmm. So, you know, we believe in additions to the children's lives, not subtractions. Yeah. There's no reason to ever subtract a birth mother who brought the child into this world. Why would you ever want to subtract her from the child's life?
Well, we just appreciate you, opening up our attention to this agency and what it is that you all do, of course, here in Texoma. And like we just mentioned, we're going to hear from Alyssa and Kimberly and more about their stories. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with more. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we are talking about inheritance adoptions and really how this organization has transformed families all over Texoma. Joining me now, we are talking a little bit more about adoptive mothers, adoptive parents, and the birth mother, and really that open adoption, such a neat thing in our community. And here to share their own stories now, we have Kimberly Barclay, who is the birth mother, and also Alyssa Perez. And she is the adoptive mother, and little Annabella, 18 months old, Isn't she such a doll? Well, we just appreciate you both taking time to be here, all three of you taking time to be here today and sharing your stories. I think this is important, and we're excited that you're willing to share them with Texoma. And Alyssa, I know, bundle of joy sitting there in your lap right now, and such a cute little one too. We just want to hear what inheritance adoptions has really meant to you and your husband.
It's meant everything to us. Obviously, we got Annabella from there. My husband and I had long desired to have a child, and we prayed and realized that adoption was the route that we wanted to go. And in June 24th of 2011, the Lord brought us little Annabella Jane to us. And isn't she sweet? But we are very excited that the Lord brought us to inheritance. We're just very glad that Annabella has a relationship with her birth mom. We see Kimberly once a month. We have for the past 18 months. Usually go out to eat or do something, meet up so she can see Annabella. We've sent her pictures, we send her cards, we send her letters, so she's able to see and know what Annabella is doing.
Let me ask you, how did you hear about inheritance adoptions? I mean, when you started the adoption process, did you always know that, we had an organization like this in our community?
Well, after we were first married, we started talking about adoption, and we did not know about inheritance here in town. But someone my husband knows actually mentioned it to him one day, and so we started researching it and looked into it, and after a lot of prayer and consideration, we realized that that was the route that we wanted to go to start our family.
What about the open adoption part? We heard from her a little bit earlier. It's just not something you normally think of when you think of adoption. How were you open to that immediately, or was it something, you said prayer, of course, a big part of all this for you?
We felt that adoption in general was the route we wanted to go. When we learned that it was open adoption, we were actually very open to that idea. In the past, they've always been closed adoptions, and the child never really gets to understand where they came from and to know their birth mother. And so when we learned that inheritance adoptions was open, we were very excited that that was their plan for their birth mothers. I would very highly recommend open adoptions. It has been an absolute blessing to us. From the very beginning, Kimberly has made it so easy for us to invite her into our family and have her be a part of our family. She has, we have just welcomed her with open arms. She's welcomed us with open arms. It has made the transition for Annabella into our family very easy, and I would highly recommend it to anybody who's considering adoption.
How do you think this helps Annabella?
It will definitely give her a security that she knows where she came from. She knows who she is. As she gets older, she will definitely know that she is adopted. She will know her birth mother, and we will continue to have that relationship with her mom throughout her life, hopefully.
Absolutely. Well, she seems very happy, of course. Very beautiful little girl. Kimberly, I kind of want to move on to you and ask you a few questions. How has this process really been for you? I mean, can you take us back to the beginning, whenever you first found out, maybe even you were pregnant?
When I first found out that I was pregnant, I already had a little girl. I think she was about a year at the time, and I knew I was about to be out on my own, and I was scared for me and my girls. So I was about maybe 3 months pregnant the first time I contacted Misty, and I got a packet to read it over. I didn't really decide to do the adoption until I was about 6 to 7 months pregnant with her. At first, I didn't think adoption was going to be the best idea for her, because at first I was selfish, and I thought I would be able to do it on my own. And then I had been praying about it, and something just told me that I'm not her mom. And come to find out, I'm just her birth mother. I'm not her mom.
Can you tell us about the process of open adoption from your eyes? Because, how has that helped you throughout this?
Just to see her milestones in her development, and to know that she's not struggling or needing anything, and that she has all she wants and all she needs, and a little more.
And I'm just kind of curious if you could go back maybe to right whenever you chose the adoption agency and the whole process, would you pick a closed adoption versus an open adoption, or keep it as is?
I would keep it as is. A closed adoption, it scares me. It just absolutely scares me to death. not knowing anything about my little girl, not seeing how she's doing, just knowing that, oh, some family has her, somebody else, she's not my baby, how's she doing? How I would have so many questions, so many unanswered questions that it would make me go crazy.
So whenever you hear open adoption, people may think, for the birth mother, it would make it worse, being able to see her. But it's just the opposite is basically what you're saying. It's helped with the healing.
From the moment this all started, I didn't feel like I was giving my baby away. I felt like I was giving her more. I gave her a loving 2-parent family that I couldn't give her. And she's where she needs to be.
And Alyssa, I just kind of want to come back to you. Anything else, you can really share with us about this organization and how it's transformed, maybe even who you are today?
It has absolutely changed our life. From the moment we started working with Inheritance, they were supportive and helpful. All the questions we had, all the fears and the worries and the waiting and everything that we had, Leslie and her staff were wonderful to work with. And they just reassured us that it would happen in God's timing, and it absolutely did. And we can't even imagine that Annabella not being in our family. We knew that there's a verse in the Bible that says, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, and before you were born, I set you apart. And I knew that Annabella, from the moment she was conceived, God had planned for her to be with us. Yeah. And because we obviously had a heart for adoption, we've adopted another son through foster care, and he is 2.5 now, so he was older than Annabella. And since then, we've also had our own son, miraculously, and he's actually 3 months old. So it has definitely changed our life to start our family through adoption, and we couldn't imagine it any other way.
I love that. You hear that quite a bit, it seems, doesn't it? That once those doors are open and you've welcomed them in, it seems, then another child is born.
Part of God's plan. Absolutely.
Part of His plan, indeed. So a growing family for Annabella. Now she's got 2 siblings.
Right.
Let me ask you, I know sometimes there's got to be, as she mentioned, some concerns with parents. Anything you can kind of share with us about some of the maybe fears, and what are kind of the answers to those that you give?
Well, the most common fears for open adoption with an adoptive couple is that the birth mom, if she's seeing the child, she's going to want the child back, and that maybe she's going to come and take the child from them. But really that couldn't be further from the truth, because if they've already made that selfless decision of placing the child in a loving home, why would they come back months or years later and want to take that child from the only home that they know?
Sure.
So a birth mother or a birth father is not going to choose that. It really is not true. And I think for the birth mother, a fear may be just the rejection of an adoptive couple, maybe saying that they're going to be in an open relationship and then deciding, to not carry on with that. But for the most part, we see that relationships are built just like any other relationship in your life. And it's all based on trust. And they develop this trusting relationship that neither party, wants to end. I really think their relationship is just a true testimony of letting God take over this part in their life. Kim just has a wonderful attitude that Annabella is where she needs to be, and that Annabella is Alyssa and Raphael's child. And so she has a very loving and giving attitude, as well as Alyssa does too, is that she's willing to give in order to help the situation, and she's willing to give her time and her energy to letting Kimberly be a part of their life. And so if everyone just focuses on the best interest of the child and focuses on what they feel God is leading them to do, and it's kind of like the saying, we want to do as Jesus would treat others, and that's how their relationship is, and so it just all works out beautifully.
You put that so nicely, because that's so true. You hear that about just serving and loving and coming together, and that's exactly what both of you have done. So now I'm curious, Alyssa, was the open adoption, when you first heard about that, was that something that you had to pray about? Was it a fear?
My very first reaction, I didn't have any fears to go with that. I thought it was actually a great option than they used to be closed.
Sure.
Than when they used to be closed. But there was a fear at some point where, what if she changes her mind?
Sure.
Right after the baby's born. There's always that fear of, there's 48 hours after the baby's born before the papers are signed, and I was fearful for a brief time before we really got to know Kimberly that what if she changed her mind. But after we got to meet Kimberly and got to know her, and I really felt in my heart that she was going to go through with it, and that this was our baby girl.
And I know your husband's not here today, of course, to voice, but can you share maybe from his perspective, was it different, maybe coming from a man's perspective, or were y'all kind of on the same page at first about about the open adoption?
We were definitely on the same page. We had talked about adoption the first year of our marriage, and when we decided to pursue adoption, it was actually him that downloaded all the paperwork and really felt that God was leading us to do this. So he's actually really never shown any fear or any hesitation with any of it. I think if there was any fear at all along the way, it was me. But he would always just reassure me that it was God's plan for us, whether or not she was going to be with us or not. And he always believed that Annabella was going to be ours, right from the time we met Kimberly.
Wow, that's great. I mean, a great support for you then
Yes,
as well.
very much so.
Is there a support connection with the adoptive parents and inheritance?
Yes, we have a staff member that is an adoptive mom and has adopted through the agency, and she's there for couples that are waiting. It is a hard process to wait, and she's been there, she's lived it, and so yes, we do have that also for the adoptive parents.
So both sides are covered.
Yes.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much. I just can't thank you enough for taking time to be here and opening up and sharing your stories with Texoma. So thank you. Thank you so much. And Annabella, thank you.
Can you wave?
Thank you so much. Can you wave to everybody and tell them bye? Ah, so cute. Well, thanks again. And we need to take another quick break, but we will be right back with more. Stay with us. Welcome back to Inside Texoma. Once again, we're taking an inside look at Inheritance Adoptions, an agency that truly serves Texoma and even the state of Texas, but really a big focus on families here and transforming lives. That people would like to learn more about this if they'd like to get involved. You know, maybe they're in the same spot as Kimberly or Alyssa. How can they learn more?
Our website is probably a really good way, inheritanceadoptions.org. Our phone number is 32ADOPT or 322-3678. We also have Facebook and Twitter, so just anyone is free to call. We have 24 hours someone on call. So, but the website is also just a great way to get information.
Well, thanks again, Leslie. We just appreciate your time and giving us an inside look into this agency and all it really does for Texoma.
Thank you so much for allowing us to come.
Absolutely. Share. And again, if you would like to see much more about Inheritance Adoptions or share this story with maybe someone that you love or someone that could maybe benefit, you can always head to our website, newschannel6now.com, and then click on our YouTube page where we provided a link to this entire show. Email it to your family and friends. Thanks for watching Texoma. We hope you have a great day. We'll see you back here next Sunday morning.